Section 4 of Letters of Ulysses S. Grant to his father and his youngest sister, 1857 78. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Jim Clevenger. Letters of Ulysses S. Grant to his father and his youngest sister, 1857 78, by Ulysses S. Grant. Section 4. Simpson, the brother next in age to General Grant, to his sister Mary. Cairo, September 25th, 1861. Dear Sister: I have just received your last letter, also another written by you about 1 month ago, which has followed me around until at length it reached this place. I am very well, but have no news to communicate. I had extended my lines nearly halfway to Columbus, and made reconnoissance frequently to within sight of the rebel camps, but my force has to be so reduced that it would be imprudent to make an attack now until I am reinforced. I hope some day, if I am allowed to retain this command, to give a good account of ourselves. Simpson's death, though looked for the last 2 years, causes me a great deal of sadness. The day I heard of it I received a number of letters from Galena. In 2 or 3 of them his arrival at St. Paul was noted, and it was stated that he was no better. Our family has been peculiarly blessed up to this time, but few families of the same number have gone so many years without the loss of a single member. I expect Father here as soon as Orville returns to Galena. Brother Ulysses. Grant felt sure that Columbus could easily have been taken soon after the occupation of Paducah, and had asked more than once to be allowed to move against it. As time went on it was so strongly fortified that it would have required a large force and a long siege to capture it. General Fremont was in charge of the Department of Missouri. Cairo, October 25th, 1861. Dear Sister: have gone longer this time without writing to you than I intended, and have no good excuse for it. I have received 2 letters, at least, from you and Father since my last one, of which wanted special answer. As I have not that letter before me, I may fail to answer some points. As to my not taking Columbus, there are several reasons for it, which I understand perfectly, and could make plain to any one else, but do not feel disposed to commit the reasons to paper. As to the needlessness of the movements of troops, I am a better judge than the newspaper reporters who write about it. My whole administration of affairs seems to have given entire satisfaction to those who have the right to judge, and who should have the ability to judge correctly. I find by a little absence for the few last days under orders that my whole course has received marked approbation from citizens and soldiers, so much so that many who are comparative strangers to me are already claiming for me promotion. This is highly gratifying, but I do not think any promotion should be made for the present. Let service tell who are the deserving ones, and give them the promotion. Father also wrote about a Mr. Reed. He is now here, and will probably be able to secure a position. I do not want to be importuned for places. I have none to give, and want to be placed under no obligation to any one. My influence no doubt would secure places with those under me, but I become directly responsible for the suitableness of the appointee. And then there is no telling what moment I may have to put my hand upon the very person who has conferred the favor, or the one recommended by me. I want always to be in a condition to do my duty without partiality, favor, or affection. In the matter of making harness, I know that a very large amount is wanted. Major Robert Allen, Chief Quartermaster for the Western Department, stationed in St. Louis, has the letting of a great deal. Father remembers his father well. He is a son of old Irish Jimmy, as he used to be called about Georgetown to distinguish him from the other two Jimmy Allens. He is a friend of mine also. This letter has proven so far more one to Father than to yourself, but I direct it to you that you may reply. I write in great haste, having been engaged all the evening in writing orders, and still having more to do. I send you with this the likeness of myself and staff. Number 1 you will have no difficulty in recognizing. Number 2 is Captain J. A. Rawlings, A.A., General. Numbers 3 and 4, Captains Lagow and Hillier, aides de camp. Number 5, Dr. Simmons, Medical Director. A good-looking set, aren't they? I expect Julia here the latter part of next week. I wish you could come at the same time and stay a week or two. I think it would pay you well. Won't you try to come? If it were at all necessary I would pay the expense myself to have you come. Give my love to all at home. I think I will send you several more of my photographs, one for Uncle Samuel, one for Aunt Margaret, one for Aunt Rachel, and one for Mrs. Bailey. Your brother, Ulysses. The Battle of Belmont is the first event of importance after the occupation of Paducah. This was the first time the men and officers were under fire. They behaved like veterans. Here they gained a confidence in themselves that they did not lose throughout the war. Cairo, November 8th, 1861. DEAR FATHER: It is late at night and I want to get a letter into the mail for you before it closes. As I have just finished a very hasty letter to Julia that contains about what I would write, and having something else to do myself, I will have my clerk copy it. Day before yesterday I left here with about 3,000 men in 5 steamers, convoyed by 2 gunboats, and proceeded down the river to within 12 miles of Columbus. The next morning the boats were dropped down just out of range of the enemy's batteries, and the troops debarked. During this operation our gunboats exercised the rebels by throwing shells into their camps and batteries. When all ready we proceeded about 1 mile towards Belmont, opposite Columbus. Then I formed the troops into line, and ordered 2 companies from each regiment to deploy as skirmishers, and push on through the woods and discover the position of the enemy. They had gone but a little way when they were fired upon, and the ball may be said to have fairly opened. The whole command, with the exception of a small reserve, was then deployed in like manner with the first, and ordered forward. The order was obeyed with great alacrity, the men all showing great courage. I can say with gratification that every colonel, without a single exception, set an example to his command that inspired a confidence that will always insure victory when there is the slightest possibility of gaining one. I feel truly proud to command such men. From here we fought our way from tree to tree through the woods to Belmont, about 2½ miles, the enemy contesting every foot of ground. Here the enemy had strengthened their position by felling the trees for 200 or 300 yards and sharpening the limbs, making a sort of abattis. Our men charged through, making the victory complete, giving us possession of their camp and garrison equipage, artillery, and everything else. We got a great many prisoners. The majority, however, succeeded in getting aboard their steamer and pushing across the river. We burned everything possible and started back, having accomplished all that we went for and even more. Belmont is entirely covered by the batteries from Columbus, and is worth nothing as a military position. It cannot be held without Columbus. The object of the expedition was to prevent the enemy from sending a force into Missouri to cut off troops I had sent there for a special purpose, and to prevent reinforcing Price. Besides being well fortified at Columbus, their numbers far exceed ours, and it would have been folly to have attacked them. We found the Confederates well armed and brave. On our return, stragglers that had been left in our rear, now front, fired into us, and more recrossed the river and gave us battle for fully a mile, and afterwards at the boats when we were embarking. There was no hasty retreating or running away. Taking into account the object of the expedition, the victory was most complete. It has given me a confidence in the officers and men of this command that will enable me to lead them in any future engagement without fear of the result. General McClernand, who, by the way, acted with great coolness throughout and proved that he is a soldier as well as statesman, and myself, each had our horses shot under us. Most of the field officers met with the same loss, besides nearly 1/3 of them being killed or wounded themselves. As nearly as I can ascertain, our loss was about 250 killed, wounded, and missing. I write in great haste to get this in the office tonight. U.S. Grant. 2 days after the battle of Belmont, November 9th, General Halleck supersedes General Fremont in command of the Department of Missouri. General Grant's command is now changed from the District of Southeastern Missouri to the District of Cairo, and that of the mouths of the Cumberland and the Tennessee. This is the command he refers to here as the most important one in the department. Cairo, Illinois, November 27th, 1861. DEAR FATHER: Your letter enclosed with a shawl to Julia is just received. In regard to your stricture about my not writing, I think that you have no cause of complaint. My time is all taken up with public duties. Your statement of prices at which you propose furnishing harness was forwarded to Major Allen as soon as received, and I directed Lagal, who received the letter enclosing it, to inform you of the fact. He did so at once. I cannot take an active part in securing contracts. If I were not in the army I should do so, but situated as I am, it is necessary both to my efficiency for the public good and my own reputation that I should keep clear of government contracts. I do not write you about plans or the necessity of what has been done or what is doing, because I am opposed to publicity in these matters. Then, too, you are very much disposed to criticize unfavorably from information received through the public press, a portion of which, I am sorry to see, can look at nothing favorably that does not look to a war upon slavery. My inclination is to whip the rebellion into submission, preserving all constitutional rights. If it cannot be whipped in any other way than through a war against slavery, let it come to that legitimately. If it is necessary that slavery should fall, that the Republic may continue its existence, let slavery go. But that portion of the press that advocates the beginning of such a war now are as great enemies to their country as if they were open and avowed secessionists. There is a desire upon the part of people who stay securely at home to read in the morning papers at their breakfast startling reports of battles fought. They cannot understand why troops are kept inactive for weeks or even months. They do not understand that men have to be disciplined, arms made, transportation and provisions provided. I am very tired of the course pursued by a portion of the Union press. Julia left last Saturday for St. Louis, where she will probably spend a couple of weeks and return here should I still remain. It costs nothing for her to go there, and it may be the last opportunity she will have of visiting her father. From here she will go to Covington and spend a week or two before going back to Galena. It was my bay horse, cost me $140, that was shot. I also lost the little pony, my fine saddle and bridle, and the common one. What I lost cost about $250. My saddle cloth, which was about half the cost of the whole, I left at home. I try to write home about once in 2 weeks, and think I keep it up pretty well. I wrote to you directly after the Battle of Belmont, and Lagow and Julia have each written since. Give my love to all at home. I am very glad to get letters from home, and will write as often as I can. I am somewhat troubled lest I lose my command here, though I believe my administration has given general satisfaction not only to those over me, but to all concerned. This is the most important command within the department, however, and will probably be given to the senior officer next to General Halleck himself. There are not so many brigadier generals in the army as there are brigades, and as to divisions, they are nearly all commanded by brigadiers. Yours, Ulysses. Footnote 1. Grant's conviction that the essential purpose of the war was not the abolition of slavery as an end in itself, but the preservation of the Union at all costs, was identical with that of Lincoln. This letter can properly be compared with the well-known letter written by Lincoln to Greeley on the 3rd of August, 1862, in which Lincoln says, "My paramount object in this struggle is to save the Union, and it is not either to save or to destroy slavery." Lincoln understood that the task accepted by him as President, as the leader in the contest for national existence, made the maintenance of the Union his chief, if not for the time being his only responsibility. He had, however, placed himself on record in many utterances to the effect that if the Republic were to be preserved, slavery must be, in the first place, restricted and finally destroyed. It is probable that in this matter Grant did not go so far as Lincoln. In any case, in common with the President, he devoted himself simply to the duty immediately before him. The battlefield referred to is Belmont. According to the memoirs, the loss of national troops, killed, wounded, and missing, was 485. That of the Confederates, 642. Number of Union troops engaged was 2,500 men. That of the Confederates, 7,000. Cairo, Illinois, November 28, 1861. DEAR FATHER: Your letter asking if Mr. Leathers can be passed South, and also enclosing 2 extracts from papers, is received. It is entirely out of the question to pass persons South. We have many Union men sacrificing their lives now from exposure as well as battle in a cause brought about by secession, and it is necessary for the security of the thousands still exposed that all communication should be cut off between the 2 sections. As to that article in the Hawkeye, it gives me no uneasiness whatever. The Iowa regiment did its duty fully, and my report gives it full credit. All who were on the battlefield know where General McClernand and myself were, and there is no need of resort to the public press for our vindication. The other extract gives our loss in killed and wounded almost exactly correct. Our missing, however, is only 3 or 4 over 100. Recent information received through deserters shows that the rebel loss from killed, wounded, and missing reaches about 2,500. One thing is certain. After the battle, about one-third of Columbus was used for hospitals, and many were removed to houses in the country. There were also 2 steamboat loads sent to Memphis, and the largest hotel in the city taken as a hospital. The city was put in mourning, and all business suspended for a day, and the citizens thrown into the greatest consternation lest they would be attacked. I wrote to you 2 days ago, therefore it is not necessary to write a long letter. I believe I told you that Julia had gone to St. Louis. She will pay you a short visit before returning to Galena. Ulysses. General D.C. Buell commanded the Department of the Ohio with headquarters at Louisville. To his sister Mary, Cairo, December 18th, 1861. Dear Sister, I have been wanting to write you for some time, and am not so indifferent as you would make out. I wish you could be here for a day or two to see what I have to go through from breakfast until 12 at night, 7 days in the week. I have now just got through with my mail for tonight, and as it is not yet 12 and the mail does not close until that time, I will devote the remainder of the time in penning you a few lines. I have no war news to communicate, however. Julia and the children have returned from St. Louis. They will not make you the promised visit whilst I remain here. Captain Foley arrived to day, and I showed him all the attention I could, but I regret to say it was not much. He will excuse it, however. I am sorry you did not come with him. I believe I should have allowed the children to go back with you. I have learned through private sources that an attack has been made upon Fort Jackson, Louisiana, and that the place has been taken. That is to say, such is the report in Columbus, but I do not know whether to credit the report. Something has taken place to call off many of their troops. They still have a much larger force than I have. Whilst I am writing, several Galena gentlemen are in talking. They will remain until the office closes, so you must excuse a disconnected letter. I do not now see that the probability are so strong that I will likely be removed. A full disposition seems to have been made of all my seniors. Father seems to be very much inclined to criticize all our generals. It may have been a little inexcusable in General Buell not to allow troops to stop for a few hours when near their homes, but he should recollect that General Buell was not on the spot to see the circumstances fully, and he does not know what necessity may have existed to have got the troops through by a certain time. At your request I send a small batch from my cranium. I doubt whether it is big enough for the purpose you want it. If you will come out here you might spend a few weeks pleasantly, and I hope you will not lose such an opportunity as has just occurred. I will close this. My love to all at home. Ulysses. End of section 4. Recording by Jim Clevenger, Little Rock, Arkansas. Jim at joclev.com.